Good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us. Are you all ready to become citizen scientists? My name is Erica, and I am a program developer at Esplora Interactive Science Center. And today we're going to be exploring how you can use the Globe app to also become a citizen scientist. One of Esplora's aims is to foster a good relationship between researchers and society. And one way of doing that is by involving citizens directly in the research, sometimes by collecting data. And we believe that you play an important role in addressing the challenges for a sustainable future. And science is always better when we do it together. And GLOBE, which stands for the Global Learning and Observation to Benefit the Environment, has been providing such opportunities for the past 3 decades. And with us today to explain more about the GLOBE organization and the Global Tree Challenge, we have Ramona Mercia, who is the GLOBE Deputy Director for Malta and who is also a full-time geography teacher. We also have with us Elizabeth Kanellakis, who is the US Embassy Public Affairs Officer. And last but not least, we have Brian Campbell, who is a NASA Senior Earth Science Education and Communication Lead. At the end of this session, we're going to have time to answer any questions that you have. So if during the webinar you have any questions, please feel free and post them in the chat below the webinar, and we'll get to them at the end. So Ramona, let's start with you. Could you tell us a bit more about Globe Malta, the initiatives that you have been working on, and how our viewers can participate in the Global Tree Challenge?
Thank you, Erica, and welcome everyone to all the participants who are viewing this webinar. I'm going to share my screen. So, as Erica introduced me, I am Ramona Mercia, the Deputy Coordinator for Globe Malta, and I am also a geography teacher in Gozo. So let's talk about GLOBE. Let's understand what GLOBE is. So GLOBE stands for Global Learning and Observation to Benefit the Environment. It is an international science and education program which gives the opportunity to students and the general public to do outdoor learning. Also, it gives the opportunity for everyone to be engaged in data collection. I invite you to watch this short video clip, which will define better the GLOBE program.
The GLOBE program connects students, teachers, and scientists from around the world through hands-on science research activities called protocols.
We're sampling invertebrates, and then we're looking at our key and deciding what they are, and then we're gonna put it on the GLOBE website.
And so they're looking at data that students around the world have collected, and they're seeing how their data is going into that same pool. And so now they're part of this global group of students who are monitoring all parts of the ecosystem.
No matter where we live, our common bond is the Earth. And GLOBE allows all of us to discover and learn about the air we breathe, the water we drink, and the soil we use. GLOBE connects us to our planet and one another through interactive exploration.
I think it's cool to see that everybody all around the world are doing this just to help the Earth.
The GLOBE program encourages students to be curious about the things they see every day, like clouds, streams, and plants. Through the data students collect, GLOBE helps build a bridge between today's science research and the next generation of scientists, because professional scientists are able to access the data collected by students around the world. In turn, students become more engaged and involved with science.
To know that, a NASA expert or a GLOBE expert is going to use that actual data, that's really exciting for the kids and us.
Take the first step to encourage your students to discover, explore, and investigate their world. Do GLOBE today. Don't just read about science, do science.
And that's it. That's the motto of GLOBE. It's not just reading about science, it is doing science. And in fact, Malta became part of the GLOBE community in 2007. And from then onwards, practically even more so during the past 3 years, there has been an increase in the number of schools registered and the number of students and citizen scientists collecting data. But how can students be involved in GLOBE? It's not just participating in campaigns which are organized by GLOBE. For example, right now there is the Urban Heat Island Effect campaign, where students worldwide are invited to measure surface temperature. Or else right now in Europe, there is, but also worldwide, they are also invited in the USA, students are encouraged to observe trees as they prepare for their winter sleep, what we call the European Autumn Phenology Campaign. Besides these campaigns, students in Malta come up with their own investigations where they collect data. They analyze the data collected, they write reports, and even present them for the International Virtual Science Symposium. So far, Malta has submitted a good number of investigations which have also gained international acclaim. Also, last year, Globe invited students worldwide to become Globe vloggers. The Globe program was looking for 12 students, and we are proud to say that from Malta we have even a student vlogger. So look how much exposure students are getting to science, thus promoting STEM education. But that's not all. It's not just students and teachers who are involved in GLOBE and who collect data. It's also informal educational groups who are involved. For example, we have various sessions with Girl Guides and even Boy Scouts. Even local councils are invited to participate in this data collection. And so far, we have also managed to attract citizen scientists which have gathered data through the use of GLOBE apps, which we will be talking about later on. And this brings me to the GLOBE 3 challenge. This year, GLOBE Malta, in collaboration with Esplora and the US Embassy, is hosting the GLOBE 3 challenge. 2 years ago, we launched a similar challenge, but it focused on clouds. This time, we are focusing on trees. Why? This challenge is aimed at making science better together by encouraging participants to collect data, thus becoming members of the NASA citizen science community, and also to learn more about why trees are important. So how can you participate in the tree challenge, in the Globe Tree Challenge? First of all, everyone can participate in the challenge. It's not open to just schools of all ages. We have even kindergarten students involved in data collection. It's open to everyone, to all ages, even non-formal educators and the general public. How can you participate? There are different ways on how you can participate. Like, for example, writing a tree poem or a song, creating tree art, or even starting a nature journal, or making a video, or why not even trying to grow your own tree. We need so much trees, especially in Malta. You start growing your own tree, local indigenous trees, monitoring their growth, and sharing your work with us. Last but not least, we encourage you to take tree height observations. Once you complete all these activities, we invite you to share your work with us and on social media using the hashtag Trees Challenge, and also by tagging Globe Malta and Esplora. But you may ask, but how are we going to measure the height of trees? It's really simple, fun, and engaging, and literally you will be doing science in the palm of your hands. All this by downloading the Globe Observer app. This is free to download. You can download on your device, smartphone or tablet. You have to register using an email account. Then you have to use the trees tool in the app, go outdoors and follow the prompt in the app to actually make the tree height measurements. our guest speaker from NASA, he will explain all the details and will show you how you can actually take tree height measurements. Why you should join the Globe Tree Challenge? There are many reasons why you should join the Tree Challenge. One, because you will enjoy meaningful time outdoors, and this will improve your observation skills. You will become tree guardians. Thus, as you will learn about trees, you will enrich your understanding of why trees are important to our environment, especially to our landscape. You will be collecting data for research, which is valuable not just for our local community, but it is also important for students and scientists worldwide. And you will be making connections because the data you collect, the information that you collect through the app, you can compare it with the data from NASA missions. That's all from my part, but before I end up and pass on the stage to Elizabeth, I invite you to like the Globe Malta Facebook page to receive the latest updates of all the campaigns and projects that are taking place in Malta. I also invite you to visit the website observer.globe.gov/trees, where you can get an idea of activities through which you can learn, observe, create, and engage with trees. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ramona. And there's no denying that trees are very important, not just for the environment, but also for our well-being. Now, as Ramona mentioned, we've been working very close with the US Embassy. Elizabeth, the US Embassy brought us all together for this initiative, and we thank you for that. Could you elaborate on the role of the US Embassy in the Globe Malta project?
My name is Elizabeth Kanalakis, and I'm here at the U.S. Embassy this evening, joined with my teammate, Carolini. And we are so delighted to be part of this collaborative effort between the Esplora Interactive Science Center and Globe Malta. The U.S. Embassy was an early convener of these absolutely fantastic organizations, and we're so proud and excited to see the collaboration that is coming out of their relationship and the way young scientists in Malta are able to get involved in this challenge. The U.S. Embassy supports this initiative for a few reasons. The first being that the Globe Observer app is actually produced and supported by NASA, the US agency for space research and the global leader in space research worldwide. The US Embassy is also invested in this effort because we recognize to really find solutions to global challenges such as environmental issues, climate change. We need citizens of every age, of every nationality, of every level of society involved in the effort. And what better way to get citizens involved in a foreign policy priority than to have them working and using the Globe Observer application. So we are so excited to be part of this effort. And I won't waste any time in thanking you, Ramona, for all of your work at Globe Malta and for your presentation. Of course, thanks is due to Brian for sharing NASA's perspective with us this evening. And last, but certainly not least, Erica, thank you. It's such a pleasure to see you this evening and for all of the work that our Esplora colleagues are offering towards this initiative. So I have to say, well done. Bravo, everyone. And best of luck to all the students and young people who are going to participate in the Trees Challenge. Thank you.
Thank you, Elizabeth and Carolini. Thank you. And as we said before, last but not least, we were going to be meeting with Brian. Now, Brian is also the tree science lead for NASA Globe Observer Citizen Science Project. Brian, can you tell us a bit more about the work that you do with students and researchers, and also how people can participate in the Globe Trees Challenge?
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Erica and Elizabeth and Ramona. Let me go ahead and share my screen, and then we will go from there. All right. So thank you so much for the invitation. And we at NASA and the GLOBE program are super excited to be part of this Trees Challenge in Malta. And this is exactly the kind of thing we're hoping for with many of the GLOBE countries, for them to adopt these challenges and these campaigns that have people across the entire country or region to really see how important these observations are, not just to local environments, but to the scientific community as a whole. I'm Brian Campbell, and I am a NASA Senior Earth Science lead at the NASA Wallops Flight Facility in Virginia in the United States. I'm coming to you from Maryland right now at my home, and I'm going to talk to you today a lot about globe trees, and as Erica just mentioned, how you can be part of this trees challenge by taking observations of tree height using just your mobile device. And I'm going to talk to you a little bit about why we're actually doing that as well, and why should you care, why should NASA care. And I love all the ideas that Ramona mentioned earlier about why it's important to do this, from going outside to becoming a tree guardian to all the other things that Ramona mentioned. So that's really great stuff. Should also mention I'm the lead for the Trees Around the Globe Student Research Campaign, and we just started year 4 of the campaign, and we have right now 58 active GLOBE countries in the campaign. The GLOBE program has 126 countries as part of it, with students, educators, and citizen scientists. But with this campaign, we actually have active 58 countries. So we're really excited about that. And like I said, we just started the 4th year of the campaign on October 1st of this year. So let's talk more about trees, okay? So when we talk about trees, we have to understand that a measurement as simple as tree height doesn't sound like a lot to most people, but figuring out what the tree height is of a particular tree or groups of trees in an area can really help us understand many things about the environment, many things about how our planet's changing, many things about how climate is basically affecting trees, and how trees can serve as an indicator to climate changes. So we're going to be looking at tree height from the perspective of, why you do it, why you should care, why NASA cares, and some of the NASA missions that are affiliated with measuring tree height. And you may not, and there's also some things that I'm going to add on to the end of this that you can do kind of as an extension, basically, and what scientists do with your data, how they can compare the data for tree height that you'll be collecting during this trees challenge with, some of the data coming back from the NASA satellites and instrumentation that we have flying in space right now, taking tree height observations from space, from about 300 miles above the Earth's surface. So why is tree height so important, and why does NASA care, and why should you? Tree height is the most widely used indicator of an ecosystem's ability to grow trees. Let's think of it this way. Let's think of 2 environments on planet Earth. First off, let's start in the desert. The desert, not many trees, right? Why is that? Well, because it's hot, it's dry, it's arid. There's not much precipitation. The soil is a sandy soil, so it's not very conducive to growing trees. Okay, so you don't see many trees there. Conversely, let's think of the Amazon rainforest. Okay, and I know there's lots of forested areas. There's some forested areas there around Malta, but think of the Amazon rainforest. When you think of that, you think, oh, lots of trees, right? Lots of trees, because there's lots of precipitation. There's a great climate for it as well. The soil is organically rich. Most of it is what's called, formed from detritus. It's very organically rich, so it's called humus. So all those variables come together to grow really nice, tall, flourishing trees, okay? Versus the desert, we don't see many trees there. And if the trees are in the desert, they don't grow very tall. Where you see these tree heights growing at, really high rates and really tall trees, those are the perfect environments or ecosystems to grow trees. Tree height also allows you to track the growth of trees over time. This is super important because I'm going to give you an example. Outside my home, we planted 2 what are called crepe myrtle trees. Okay, they blossom all different colors. Ours happened to be like a dark red. But we planted these as saplings about 9 years ago, and when we planted these were about 2.5 feet tall. Okay, now these trees are completely different in height. One of them is about 15 feet tall. Okay, so a little bit over like around 5 meters. The other one is about, it's about 8 to 9 feet tall. Okay, so definitely short. We planted these at the same time, but we were trying to figure out, why is one growing faster than the other? And then we realized that by measuring these tree heights and by looking at the environment around us, we realized that the tree that is growing the tallest gets a full day of sunlight. The tree that's not growing tall, where the tree height is smaller, is basically shaded by our home for about 5 hours during the day, during the afternoon. So it's about 5 hours difference, in that relation. So when we see this, I apologize, there's dogs barking in the background, but okay, that's they deal with working from home. Okay, right? So with the tree height observations, okay, when we're looking at these different types of trees, they help us understand the carbon calculations, okay, that scientists need in order to understand our planet's carbon budget, right? So when we try to understand our planet's carbon budget, we have to use instrumentation in space, like some of the satellites we use, some of the instrumentations which are on board the International Space Station as well. So when we combine all these things together, we really see just how important tree height is to science, to understanding the local environment, okay? So with that said, we have a satellite called the Ice, Cloud, and Land Elevation Satellite 2, or ICESat-2, okay? This ICESat satellite uses a technology called light detection and ranging, or LiDAR, okay? And what happens here is that this satellite sends down laser pulses from about 300 miles above the Earth's surface, and these laser pulses bounce off the Earth. And when they bounce off the Earth, what's happening here is that we're calculating the time it takes the laser pulse to leave the satellite, bounce off objects like ice or ocean surface or landforms, and also trees. We're calculating that time it takes to do that. So as this satellite is traveling around the Earth, we can map out how tall things are on the planet, including trees and forests around the world, okay? That's where NASA comes in, because we are doing this from space, but we need your tree height measurements on the ground to help compare to the NASA ICESat-2 satellite data of tree height. Because sometimes we have things that are in the way of ICESat-2 called clouds. If the clouds are too thick, or if we have cirrus clouds where there's lots of ice crystals and can refract the laser beams in different directions, we don't get observations or tree heights of those trees, okay, underneath ICESat-2, because, lasers are light. Light gets absorbed, scattered, reflected, refracted, okay? So lots of things can happen. Clouds aren't our best friend, because a lot of times it obscures that laser from coming down, hitting the Earth's surface, like the trees, and then bouncing back to the satellite. So this is one of the ways scientists really need that trees data that you will be, submitting with the NASA Global Observer as part of the, the Malta Trees Challenge. So, okay, there's different ways here, and I put this up here. There's different ways to measure tree height. We're going to focus today on the NASA Global Observer Trees tool. But then historically with the GLOBE program, as Ramona mentioned earlier, why do GLOBE? originally, before we had this trees tool for citizen science for your mobile device, we had students using handheld clinometers. We still have them doing that, but there's actually two methods now. We have the handheld clinometers and we have the trees tool for citizen science. And what's really cool about this is that it's so simple to do. And I believe Ramona mentioned this. It's so easy to do. This happens to be my son, and he's doing I sped it up, but he's doing a quick observation. And we'll go through with a little tutorial that I'm going to show here in a second. But, you know, it's really simple to do. And once you figure out how to do it and do it, you know, well, the more you do it, the more accurate you are, you know, the more fine-tuned your expertise will be. And it takes a matter of about a minute to a minute and a half to take a tree height observation, okay? But I'm going to show you in a little bit that there are specific things you really need to follow in order to get an accurate tree height measurement. But let me show you this first. This is a little teaser that we created for this tool on the app. So some of the things that you saw there are something we're going to cover, and I'm going to cover in this video I'm going to show you here in a second. But also, I'm going to talk to you about after we show this video, because there's things that are super important, like you just saw in that video, that you need to be able to angle your phone to the base of the tree and the top of the tree and count your steps walking to the tree. Those are all important because those are basically the mathematics, the trigonometry that has been programmed into the app to align to how your phone works. Your phone has a built-in magnetometer, which can help you measure angles. And that's one of the things that you're going to need to use, because, you know, we're not using a clinometer. The phone is going to be your clinometer, okay, to measure tree height. But let me play this video. It's about 8 minutes long, but it shows you step by step how to take an observation. This is something I did in our neighborhood where I live, where I'm coming to you from now in Maryland. I did this, you know, about a year ago. And what you're going to see is I'm going to be taking the tree height of a Bradford pear tree. And then I'm going to talk to you a little bit about something interesting that happened with this Bradford pear tree. And I'm going to tell you this because one of the things that we really like to focus on when taking these observations, when you start taking the observation, it's going to ask you for what are the environmental conditions around you. It's going to ask you things like, is it raining? Are there leaves on the trees? Is the ground dry? Is the ground wet? Things like that. Because when you're taking an observation, we want to know all the things that are happening around your environment, around the environment of that tree you're taking the observation of. Okay, so let me go ahead and start this, and we will talk about this after it plays. Hi, this is Brian Campbell of the NASA Wildlife Flight Facility. I'm the tree science lead for the NASA Globe Observer. Today I'm going to talk to you how to take an actual observation using the NASA Globe Observer Trees tool. So in order to get started, you first have to go through the introduction. In the introduction, it will ask you for some very vital information. You have to input your height. And if you input your height, what the app will do is it will then estimate the eye level of your phone's camera from above the ground. And also it'll estimate your stride based on that height. You also have to determine if you're going to use the metric system or the English system in your observations for the units for your tree height measurements. So what we're going to do is we're going to get started taking this observation. Before we do any of this, I want to make sure that you're aware that in order to do this the way you should be doing it, You want to be able to do this safely and legally wherever you are. If you have to be on private property where there's a tree, make sure you get the permission. But you want to make sure that you do this safely and legally and follow all local jurisdictions and laws in your area. So let's get started. So we're going to go into the trees tool, and we're going to just go click trees, new tree observation. And what you will get the time, you'll get a date stamp, time and date. Make sure that's right. And then what it's going to do, it's going to ask for service conditions. We want to know what's happening around your local environment when you're taking the tree observation. Meaning, is there snow or ice on the ground? No. Standing water? No. Is it muddy? No. No dry ground. There are leaves on the trees, and it's not raining or snowing. So then once you do that, you're going to measure the base of the tree. So this is really cool because you click next, measure base, and your camera will open up. And you're going to make sure that your phone's camera is always at your eye level. So keeping it at eye level, I'm going to go to the base of the tree, and I'm going to align this line, this white dotted line, to it. There we go. It's at the base of the tree. I like that. I'm going to continue to measure the tree top. Keeping it at eye level, you're just going to angle the phone up to the top of the tree. And there we go. We're at the top of the tree. We got the top of the tree. So what we're doing is we're measuring the angle from your eye level to the base of the tree and the top of the tree. And the phone your phone uses the internal magnetometer, and the app uses that information to calculate these angles in order to get you to measure the actual height of the tree. So we have the base and we have the top. Now we want to take a picture of the tree. And this happens to be a really pretty Bradford pear tree. So we're going to click on that, and it takes a picture of the tree. Now, since I'm on a flat surface, what I'm going to do is I'm going to walk normally to the tree. Okay, and you should ultimately be about 25 to 75 feet away from the tree. I'm about at 25 to 27 feet away from the tree. But as I walk towards the tree, I'm going to walk normally. That's super important, to walk normally to the base of the tree. Normal steps, because that's what the app based your stride on with your height that you input into the introduction section. I should also mention that there is a tutorial section in the app that you need to do before you start, so you can learn exactly how to do the tree height observation. But now I'm going to walk to the tree, and I'm going to walk normally to the tree, normal steps, counting my numbers out loud. So here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. 18 steps. So you input that into the box, 18 steps. Now, what it's going to do is it's going to go to the location. It'll give you the estimated latitude and longitude of the tree. Okay. It'll tell you what you think, what the app thinks your estimated accuracy is. And if you like it, you can hit set position. But if you don't, what you can do here, you can go to a map. And this map, you can move with 2 fingers and say exactly where that tree is. Okay. So I think it's right about here, okay? So once I set it, I hit set position. Then you're going to come to a screen that says circumference. If you have a tape measure available, you can then take the circumference of the tree at breast height, about 4.5 feet above the ground surface, all right? Now I should also mention that since we did it this way, we're on a flat surface. If you happen to be on an area that's very sloped, like you're walking uphill to the base of the tree or you're walking downhill to the base of the tree, what you can do is you can pull out that tape measure, and from where you took the observation from originally, you can measure the exact distance from the location of where you were standing to the base of the tree. And then you can put that information, excuse me, in this section. This section here is the review section. It gives a camera height, the stride length, the number of steps you put, distance to the tree, and then in the yellow section, the calculated tree height. And if you don't like something in here, or you took the actual measurement from the base of the tree, from the location where you're standing to the base of the tree, you can hit the edit button and you can put that distance to the tree right in here. So once you do, you just hit finish, okay? So then all that information then will be sent to the GLOBE database, where researchers, student researchers, professional researchers, and citizen scientists can access that information. So I'm going to send my trees data now, and it's being sent to GLOBE. And then there are places on the app that you can go look to see where you actually took your tree height observations. So before we finish, okay, that's the actual tree height observation, okay? But before we finish this little clip here, a couple things I want to focus on to make sure that you remember is that you always want to keep the phone at eye level when you're taking the measurements, okay? So always at eye level. That's the most important part, because if you look at the base of the tree and you go like this, or you go to the top of the tree like this, you're changing the angle at which you're viewing the base and the top of the tree. An important thing to remember is that if you have multiple people taking observations using the same device, what you need to do is you need to change the height of the observer each time, because we're assuming that they're going to be of different heights. So if they're of different heights but using the incorrect height, the tree height observation will be incorrect. It'll be an erroneous tree height observation. So how you can remedy that: when you go into the trees tool, there's a little question mark. That's the help section. You click on help and it says change current user height settings. So when you can do that, you can go right in and change the height of the observer about to take the observation. So hopefully all this helped you in understanding how easy it is to take a tree height observation using the NASA Globe Observer Trees tool. Have fun using the NASA Globe Observer Trees tool, and thank you for all your vital tree height observations. Hi. All right. So to go through a little bit about, break that down a little bit, I wanted to throw out here the 4 most important things when you're taking an observation is only take NASA Globe Observer observations if it's safe and legal to do so. I mentioned that in the beginning. Specifically related to trees. When choosing a tree, make sure you can see the base and top of the tree clearly and be able to walk to its base in a straight line with no obstacles. If you have an obstacle, you're going to be counting additional steps, and that part of that trigonometric equation, that triangle that you're forming, because remember, you have a triangle, the triangle is the height of the tree, the angle to the tree, and then walking to the tree. Okay, that forms that big triangle, right? So if you're changing anything, if you're not holding your phone at eye level, which is the next one, always keep your phone at eye level. If you're not keeping it at eye level, or you're having to walk around an obstacle to get to the base of the tree, that tree height won't be correct, okay? There'll be a huge error involved with that. And also, as I mentioned at the end of the video, always make sure that you have the correct height for the current observer taking the tree height observation. And you can check this, in that question mark down there in the Trees Tool introduction section. And as I mentioned too, is we have an optional circumference measurement of the tree, which also helps researchers to determine how much carbon is being pulled in and sequestered by a particular tree. Okay, if you figure out what the tree circumference is and you put that in there and you tag team that along with the tree height, that is a lot of amazing and awesome data, vital data for the scientists, whether they be the professional scientists at NASA or a science agency or a university or student researchers in middle school, high school, and even citizen scientists who want to take their observations to the next level or take the next steps to compare their data to other data. This is the perfect way to do it, this combination. Now, we understand not everyone walks around carrying a tape measure with them, but if you happen to be going out to take true height measurements, on purpose or with a class, have some of those available. And you can take a tree circumference observation. So Where are all these globe tree height data coming from? I want to show you here. We have them coming from all over the world. There's over 53,000 tree height observations from over 19,000 global locations. And we're hoping that these numbers really jump up, especially the tree height observations with the information and the observations coming from the Malta Trees Challenge. So I should also mention too, is that trees are land cover. Okay, even though we're focusing on the Trees Challenge, we also have as part of the app a land cover portion of it, which a lot of people like to take a land cover observation while they're taking a tree height observation. So that's just an option. And I just want to show you, here's some examples of some land cover observations and some tree height observations that came from Malta. As you can see, there's a bunch of observations coming from Malta. This is off the Globe database, the visualization system. You can see there's a lot of here in Malta, though, that we really need some tree heights for, where you see a lot of that green on that the map of Malta. Okay, there's some opportunity there to really take some great tree height measurements. And we notice up there near Gozo, we have lots of tree height and land cover observations as well. So once again, like I said, if this interests you, check out the land cover tool on the app, while you're taking the tree height observation, and, go ahead and take two. But we really want to focus on the Trees Challenge here, because we really want to focus on that tree height, because there's so many trees out there with, 3.03 trillion trees on the planet right now. Of course, the satellite can't map all of them. Citizen scientists can map all of them, but with a combination of what you're doing with the Trees Challenge and what other folks around the world are doing with the Trees Challenge and what scientists and instruments and satellites are doing, we're trying to get as many as possible, because as I said before, that really helps us understand, our planet's carbon budget, which is super vital for, understanding our changing planet through this, this time of climate change. Now, I'm going to quickly run through these here because I know our time is getting a little short, but these are some extension activities. These are some activities that I'm going to show you that, how scientists might be able to use your data. Okay. Here, once again, we have people who use clinometers. There's still scientists who use clinometers. Okay. There's scientists who use the app as well, but there's clinometers, and you can find this on the Globe website, the Globe Observer website that Ramona showed earlier as well. And I have some links at the end here. Building a clinometer is super simple. Okay, I'll just do this sped up. This is just the one that I printed out from the Globe. I actually helped design this, but I printed out for Globe, and it's a matter of you only need a couple things: a straw, string, tape, scissors, pencil, washer, and clipboard. And once you build it, you get this this final thing that you can use as a tool to measure the tree height. And it's just a way to do some comparisons. And one thing, if you want to take this a step further, when you take a tree observation and you happen to maybe build a handheld paper clinometer, you can take a tree height observation of the same tree using both methods and see how close you get. Okay. Sometimes you might get really close, sometimes far away, because, maybe the app isn't working perfectly, or maybe the paper clinometer just, you haven't figured out how to use that perfectly yet. It took me a while to use a paper clinometer because it's very tough to get it as precise as you want to be, because there's lots of other things happening, like there's wind and, there's uneven ground surfaces and things like that. So we have this possibility, and you can find this activity on the Globe website as well. So it's great for students as well. So quickly running through this is how scientists can use your tree height data. There's a lot going on this graphic, and I don't want to bombard you with too much information. But what this is showing is a comparison between the NASA Globe Observer data. Okay, so this is the NASA Globe Observer data, where we have right here the trees tool data, and we have the data coming from ICET2. All right. So this happened to be a trees that were measured in my location. This is on my property in Maryland. Okay, lots of trees you can see in this image here. And what I did was I went to a website called Open Altimetry. It's something we created for scientists and researchers to use to do comparisons to really see where the ICET2 data is, whether looking at the elevation or height of ice or trees or oceans or mountains, buildings, cities, things like that. But what you can do with it is you can see if ICET2 measured trees in your location. And ICET2 has gone over Malta several times. So there are what are called orbit tracks over Malta. So you can check this out. But when I did an observation, I found out that ICET2 measured these particular trees in my area at 19.66 meters. I went out and took an observation with the NASA Globe Observer, and I got 18.93. Not exact, but pretty darn close, right? Pretty close. Now, that I should mention, that was looking at groups of trees. So what I did here is I took an observation, tree-height observations of a bunch of trees, okay, in a smaller area. Because ICET2, when it sends a laser photon down to the planet, by the time that photon hits the Earth, the what's called the photon footprint is 13 meters in diameter. So if it hits a space on the top of the trees that is 13 meters in diameter, the height for the trees that are coming back is an average of all the trees within that 13-meter diameter space. So that's what I did here. I took a bunch of tree height observations, and then I took an average, and I got that 18.93, compared it to ICET2's 19.66. That Bradford pear tree that you saw in the video, ICET2 actually hit that Bradford pear tree and no other tree in that photon footprint. And when I took an observation on March 15th, 2020, of the Bradford pear tree, I got 19.41 meters. ICET2 measured it at 19.13 meters. That's very close. But then I went on February 3rd of this year, and I got 16.61 meters. That sounds very far off, almost 3 meters difference, okay? But here's why. Once again, ICET2 measured it at 19.13 meters. I measured it in 2020 of 19.41 meters. We had a tropical storm called Isaias come through our area on August 4th, 2020. And basically, we had 70-mile-an-hour sustained winds. Therefore, unfortunately, half of the Bradford pear tree that you saw in the video was broken, was basically destroyed by the wind. It cracked the tree. Bradford pear trees aren't very resilient. They basically grow straight upward. So they're not very resilient to rain and wind and things like that, and like heavy ice and snow. So that's what happened. But I'm showing you this because this is another reason, just a simple explanation of why measuring tree height is so important. You may think just by looking at it that the tree height that we got here would be the same as we got here, but it's not. It's actually almost a 3 meter difference. And then I went back and like, wow, look at this. This tropical storm caused all this damage. Okay. So very cool. Okay, finishing up here. Some of the things that Ramona mentioned, that if you go to the Globe Observer Trees page, okay, we have something on there that you can access called the Globe Trees Family Guide for you to become more involved with just taking tree height observations. You can, as Ramona mentioned, you can write poetry. You can write a tree science journal, okay? And we have these split up into different journeys, okay? When we start here, we have the Sprout Science Journeys. These are for the very young children, okay? Very young children up to early, like elementary school. And then we have a little more complicated. We go to Seedlings. This is students who are in upper elementary school into what we call middle school here in the United States. And then here, the Sapling Science Journeys, it gets a little more involved and a little more, lots more science involved here and math. These activities you can do these are high school students, the secondary students, up to university and to adults. So you can learn more about trees and why you're taking the tree height observations. You can, do really cool things, art related. We have something called STEAM. Okay, you've heard of STEM, science, technology, engineering, mathematics. We added A in there for STEAM, which is arts. So a lot of these things you can do is art related as well. So you have the science, technology, you have the environment, you have the arts, and you have the mathematics. So the Trees Family Guide is a great place to go. Now I'm gonna go here, and then I'm gonna go back for a second. But here are some of the links that you can see. I'm gonna leave this up for a second, so those who are gonna be watching the recording eventually can then copy these down and take a look at these. But these are from the GLOBE program to the Globe Observer Trees tool, to the Land Cover tool, to the Family Guide, to those comparisons I did with ICET2 and the ICET2 mission website. And there's my email below. But I'm going to end this with something we did called tree puns, okay? Puns are basically, it's a fun and humorous way to help you understand how to take a tree height observation using the NASA Globe Observer. Okay, and this was a lot of fun to make. So this is me and my fellow scientists, doing what are called tree puns in order to help people understand this a little better. And here we go.
Are you a budding scientist? Wouldn't you want to know how tall that tree is?
And conifer you a tool to find out.
You won't believe this, but NASA has this application that uses trigonometry to measure tree heights. Oh, mangrove!
NASA uses satellites to measure forests and asking volunteers for help.
Volunteers in over 120 countries can participate.
Stumped about how the app works? There are only 3 steps. First, hold your phone at tactile level and point it so you can seed the bottom and the top of the tree.
Next, number to the base and log your steps.
Finally, you can spruce up your location and optionally measure the circumference. It's okay to skip this step if you don't have a measuring tape.
The app takes care of the forest by calculating the sides of the...
Don't leave the app without sending in your data.
By contributing to this inventory, you're helping scientists seed our trees from the ground.
Hearing your observation, satellite data is intriguing and could transform the way we look at forests.
You can do measurements when you are bored, or make it part of your routine. You'll never get sick of more observations.
All right. So yeah, that was a fun, humorous way to end this today. And once again, we're so looking forward to all the tree height observations coming in through the NASA Globe Observer from the Malta Trees Challenge. So thank you all so much for the invitation to present today. And as I mentioned, if you have any questions, you can contact me as far as the tree science or how NASA does stuff related to trees. Feel free. So I will pass it back over to Erica.
Thank you, Brian. Thank you. So we have had a couple of questions. So we have Cami and Tamsin, who are super excited about using the app, but apparently they've been having some issues. They tried downloading it during the webinar, but apparently it's freezing on the initiation page. Are you aware of any updates that are taking place right now? Because I'm aware that Elizabeth successfully downloaded and used it yesterday, but they seem to have issues using it today.
Yeah, sometimes it's kind of tricky because sometimes there's just whether it be just a connection issue or something. But right now there's no updates happening because they just updated about a week ago. It should have been the last update. Unfortunately, I would keep trying. If it happens to be an issue, you can contact me. There's also if you go to the web page, there's also an area there in the help that you can send a message to the people who actually are working and who designed the app, the technological people who can then answer that and figure out what's going on, because we have those come in, off and on, just people, and sometimes it's a matter of, there's a connection issue or it's just, a temporary glitch stuff. It happens, but there's no updates happening right now. So, I apologize for that. But if it gets too bad, just check out the Globe website, and there's a little place you can go there that says, I'm having problems, let me send an email to the Globe folks. Great.
And these are things that happen. So Tamsin and Cami, I'll send you the information from the website that if you I would suggest you keep trying, but if you still don't manage, then as Brian is suggesting, please contact their tech team straight away. Okay, so we don't have any more questions for today. I'll check just one last time, just in case. We had a question, RE, whether or not the app records the coordinates of the tree location, which you answered in your very detailed walkthrough of the app. But for anyone who joined us later on, yes, the app you can choose and send in the location once you are happy with the data that you collect. because it's very important to know where the tree actually is. So please, yes, do send in your location and help us, gather more data. So that is it for today. Thank you all for joining us. Yes.
Erika, if I may add.
Yes, go ahead.
They can use the app even offline. So if they are outside and they don't have Wi-Fi connection, they can use the app offline. And once they are back and have internet connection, the data, the observation will be saved on the device, and then they can submit the data once they have internet connection. Because I forgot to mention that detail. Thank you.
That's a very good point, yes. And Cami just messaged and said that hers is working now, so.
Great.
Good news. It must have been like a temporary glitch. Okay, so any last comments, any last parting comments before we close off the webinar? Elizabeth, anyone?
Good luck, everyone. This app is so much fun. In addition to working at the embassy, I'm also a mother. I had the chance to try this with my own son, and it was really fun to use science for such a good cause. So I hope you similarly find some passion and fun participating in this challenge.
Thank you all for your time today. Thank you, Brian and Elizabeth and Cannellini and Ramona. Thank you for making this collaboration possible. It's been a pleasure having you all here with us, and we're excited to be raising awareness on the importance of protecting the trees we have and how they can be used for research. And as you've heard through the webinar, anyone can participate and contribute to this research. So either use the app to get the data or else learn more about trees by using the Trees Family Guide that Brian just mentioned. We encourage everyone to share the Globe Tree Challenge with friends and family. And don't forget, stay curious, do science, and become a citizen scientist. Thank you all. Have a good night.